What we need to look at is the kinds of foods which are served. Why is it that when we snack, do we have to only eat chips and cookies? So why can we not look at fresh and minimally processed foods which are available, attractive, affordable, sustaining? If they are not available, can we not make them available? Can we not have initiatives to promote the availability of freshly prepared meals, fresh and minimally processed foods being available, something which will nourish us and our families and society and the environment? Believe me, there is a demand for healthy foods. Post COVID, I think you just have to speak to anyone and nobody's going to say, I don't care about my health. In fact, the COVID was like, a shake-up point where people realize that you have to be eating healthy for a longer period of time to, have that immunity. It is not something you can get overnight. Also, the ones who were, unhealthy from any point of view, obesity and all, they were also more likely to die of these kind of diseases, of even COVID. So it has opened up a big market for health foods. Now, the thing is, how does this market really work? Are we fooling the consumer into believing they are eating healthy, or are we actually supplying them healthy foods? So if you look at any kind of market data, you will see there is a sharp increase in the demand for healthy foods, low fat, low sodium, low sugar foods. It is the onus is really on the scientific community also to contribute to the understanding of the industry, also to the understanding of all the people who are into this entrepreneurship business of producing healthy foods. So this is just a call out to all of you. Let us all join hands and let's work towards good health for all, because it is going to be a big struggle looking at the current rates of ill health and malnutrition amongst us. So thank you very much, and I'll be very happy to take any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am. I mean, it was such a enriching lecture and very wide scale. I mean, you covered from public health aspect to clinical aspects and also food product development. So I have personally a lot of questions, but before that, we have some questions which were asked by our participants during registration in the online registration form. So I'll request Chandrashila to take those questions first, and then we'll open the forum for discussion.
Yes, thank you, sir, ma'am. That was a wonderful presentation, ma'am. I have to say there was a lot of statistics and there was a lot of information on what we should do, what are the measurements that we have to take, and what's happening in India. Also, what has been happening over the world. That was really wonderful and knowledgeable information. So there are a few questions that we've got while the time of the registration. So I'll ask you. You can answer them. So Dibanga from Narayana Hospital is asking, what's more important factor in planning a therapeutic diet? The quality or quantity of the food items?
See, therapeutic diets, you have to obviously look at the quality of what you're giving. Quantity will also matter because you have to give that much amount of a nutrient. So the quantity will be determined by how much of the nutrient you want to give. And the quality is very important, because unless you give them the right kind of food, you're not really expecting. And just to add to that fact, whenever you go to these hospitals, it is so shocking looking at their canteen. Literally, they are selling the worst kind of HFSS foods, chola bhatura and this and that, samosas and things. It's literally like, okay, you have one patient in our hospital, you also eat some food and you can join him right here. So, you have to be very careful in what is given to this patient who is there. You don't want them to be falling, ill because of what you're giving. So that sensitivity of how the food has been made, how palatable it is, how much quantity you're giving. Many times you're just giving too much to this patient who can't even eat, who eats much less than that when they are healthy, and now you're going to give them such a quantity that they can't eat at all. That balancing act has to be individualized. It cannot be a generic thing is ward ke sara patients ko itna quantity milega. You cannot do that. So in therapeutics, it has to be an individualized portion size and the kind of food that you give to a patient.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that. Let's move on to the next question. Rajkumari Devi from New Delhi is asking, in view of the fast-paced world where we live in, how shall we modulate our nutritional counseling such that people get their nutrition despite not having time to care about it?
So for this, I will say that, you have to have these. So what people want is a quick fix solution. Nobody wants to spend too much time cooking. It cannot be something tedious. You need to then have these alternatives ready in terms of recipes which are quick to make, which are nutritious, and basic guidelines like, okay, whatever you're making, just don't put so much fat. And the way, when we do our experiments and all, we've standardized that if you can see the oil in your cooking, if you see that oil glistening in your vegetables and floating on your gravies, you have added too much. So, basic hacks of when you're cooking, do this, and what are the quick things which are healthy and which you can make fast. Otherwise, nobody has this kind of time to do all this elaborate kind of cooking, mixed to simple hacks like you have to have, for instance, you have to have a cereal and a pulse and a vegetable in a meal. Can I just combine it all into a single dish, which can be made really fast, which will be tasty, and hence can be cooked and consumed fast?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that suggestion. And Ashu Vatva from IGNO wants to know that if there are any norms in India that filter out the qualified dietitians from quacks like diploma holders, influencers, fitness experts, etc.
Excellent question. And now you should know that there is a national commission being formulated for allied health professions, in which the nutritionists also come. This includes your clinical nutritionist in the hospital. It includes the public health nutritionist and the sports nutritionist. So you need to be familiar with this act because it is now kicking in from 2026, and only the courses which they have written in their commission will make you eligible to practice as a nutritionist. So there is, what they have planned for is a BSc Nutrition and Dietetics and an MSc Nutrition and Dietetics, and any other course which you are doing will not make you eligible. That means you will not have a license to practice after that. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that, ma'am. And Jyoti from Lady Irwin College wants to know that your thoughts on the recent discussion surrounding traditional foods like samosas and jalebis being associated with health warnings. Do such narratives risk unintentional undermining cultural food practices rather than addressing the core issues driving non-communicable diseases?
No. I firmly believe that we need to do a reality check. You cannot just assume that जो बाहर से है, विदेशी है, मल्टीनेशनल कंपनी बनाती है, खाली वही बुरा है, जो हम ट्रेडिशनली करते हैं, खाली वही अच्छा है. It is a question of, see, when you look at these foods, you cannot in a community situation say हम कभी नहीं खाएंगे, आप कभी नहीं खाना. Nobody is going to listen to you because this is now a part of your culture. It is a part of what you eat. Correct. So you cannot say nahi kabhi nahi khayenge. What you have to talk about when you counsel is that you will eat it in lesser quantity and you will not eat it so frequently. As I said in the talk also, if you are eating it just once a week, it is not. One samosa once a week is not going to kill you. But one day I'm having samosa, next day I had chola bhatura, then I had pakoras, then the next day, every day I'm eating some HFSS, it is going to land me in trouble. So it is a question of moderation. It is a question of serving size. It is a question of how the quantity that I eat at a time. Oh, mango season. I'm going to eat 1 kg mango a day is going to land me in trouble. Okay, so less quantity. And there's a very beautiful video of this, and FSSAI has taken out in their campaign of Aaj se thoda kam. I don't know how many of you have seen it. Rajkumar Rao's video, where he's talking, he has his laddu in his hand, and he's saying,
Yes,
my
ma'am.
heart is saying this, but my heart, head is saying something else. So in the end, you have to realize that to protect your heart, you actually need to listen to your head also. Just reduce the quantity and do it slowly. So they also say, aaj se thoda kam, you just slowly reduce the quantity of things that you're having, and that is a more plausible way of reducing things in your diet.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The problem is if we eat pizza this week, again, we'll eat pizza again after 2 weeks, but we ate pizza, we didn't eat burger. So that keeps coming up.
Yeah,
So that we
that's
actually
you. This is a very common problem. Any lay person will say, "What are the junk foods? What are unhealthy foods? Burger, pizza, noodle." I mean, burger, pizza, noodle, and now momo added to the list. Are these the only four unhealthy things? What about chola bhatura, and what about your pakoda, and what about the aloo tikki, and what about this? So you have to understand, anything deep fried is a high fat product, and you have to eat it less frequently and in a less quantity. That's the simple message. Whether it is a traditional food, whether it is a foreign food, or this is some other country trying to kill us all, you just have to understand that you cannot do the same. It's fat is fat is fat, and if it's there, so same theory applies to your. Oh, I'm not going to eat sugar. I'm going to eat jaggery. I'm going to eat honey. And I'm going to eat. So it's still all sugar. So it may be a better form, and you replace your white sugar with jaggery, but it still doesn't mean you can binge eat and you can have as much as you want.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And Parag from ICMRNN wants to ask, what are your thoughts on the proposed HFSS tax on food? Would the losses to the exchequer due to reduced consumption of food be worth the perceived long-term health benefits?
See, if you put more tax, frankly, I don't believe anyone is going to stop having that food. How much tax will you put? Something which costs 5 rupees will then cost 6 rupees or 7 rupees. You think anyone will stop having it? So it's a thing, if you are addicted to it, you are still going to have it. The way to change, you may do that also, but I don't see how people are going to stop having these things, because they're very, very cheap. And how much will the price increase? Even if it doubles, the 5 rupee packet will come for 10 rupees. I can still afford it. I will still eat it. So that is maybe one of the things which can be done, but you need to make the healthier food cheaper. So if I have only 10 rupees, what do I eat when I go out? So what can I buy with that 10 rupees? I have to have a healthier alternative. There has to be a fruit which I can buy. So whenever we say all these things in our community based extension programs, they just palter around and say, where is the money and what are we going to buy? I can only give the child 10 rupees, and 10 rupees, what can he buy? So can we not have something which is available in cheap, which is also nutritious?
Yes, ma'am, that was a wonderful point, because everything that is probably held told at least is obviously more of the price range that any a normal person could afford. So in the name of organic, everything is expensive as well. That's a really good point that you've highlighted here. And Afsana from Patna University is asking, can we manage health issue with functional beverages among elderly?
Can we, sorry? What?
Manage,
uh,
can we manage health issue with functional beverages among elderly?
What kind of functional beverages are you talking about? So your dietary guidelines specifically are warning you against those protein supplements, and most of the beverages powders which are available are kind of looking at giving you that extra protein for the elderly and all. But if you read your dietary guidelines, they are very strictly against all these high protein beverages which are there. So functional in that sense, giving you high protein or something, then it may not be such a good idea, because at that age the kidney function goes down and the ability to excrete all these breakdown products of protein decreases. And I would rather have a situation where your regular meals which are giving you just modify texture in such a way that they are able to and the composition also in the way that they are able to digest it well, and get it from regular food, than trying to give all these foods for special dietary purposes and all. Only if they are ill and not able to take in food and all, that's when you go on to these kind of foods. But I never recommend this on a regular basis for an elderly who's eating well. I mean, there are elderly who eat well. We shouldn't assume that everyone is going to have denture problems or something. We have now very advanced dental practices which are giving them a good bite, and they're able to chew for even 90 plus. I'm seeing they are chewing well and they're eating well.
And the last one of the questions, Gyanvi from UPES is asking some suggestions for health safety measures or supplements or nutrition profiling for the people of Himalayas, like Pahadis, Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, like very regional question. She wants nutrition profiling or few supplements that they can take.
No, supplements is not recommended for anybody. See, supplements is something which comes in for a short period of time when you are not able to meet your requirements because of some disease situation. You're not eating, you're not able to eat. That is only for that short period to tide over. You have a nutritional deficiency, and then you have those supplements. As a regular part for any region, any age group, it is definitely not recommended. Please do not promote supplements of nutrients because you know of the tolerable upper intake levels. There is so much of this fortified food. So many foods allow up to 1 RDA of nutrients in them. So you don't know what is this mix of different nutrients you are getting from food. If you have a good diet, regional diets to be promoted, healthy, so the basics remain the same. So whatever fruits, vegetable, grains are locally growing, they have to incorporate all those in their traditional diets and consume when they are making at home, not to add too much salt, sugar, fat to their home cooking, because that's another miss thing. Oh, anything made at home is healthy and everything made outside is not healthy. So that's also not true. So you have so many dabba service people who will give you that home cooked feel of food, and actually that has to be promoted rather than what people order by these apps from restaurants and all when they are hungry. So these are changes which need to come into our food environment, including our home food environment, and how much of oil, fat, sugar and salt we are adding at home. Hota nahi hai. You don't see when you're sharing tiffins that somebody's house and suddenly you'll find too much salt in their food, and everyone is finding, and that person is quite okay because they're used to that much of salt in their food or sugar in their whatever sweet preparation they have made. There are so many variations. So that is something also to be targeted and to be communicated to people, how to make their home food also healthier.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. That's it with the registration questions. And I'll hand over to someone. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So it was like, as we can understand, it's a very complex situation how we make decisions regarding our food choices. So probably lot of different kinds of interventions, policies are required, which may include HFSS taxation, as you mentioned, which is just one pillar. Other things might be behavior change counseling, as you pointed out. Also, probably double duty actions and so on would be required. So I have a small question, ma'am, regarding the research aspect. Ma'am, as you discussed, most of the studies which we saw, those were like quantitative studies or systematic review, meta-analysis in nature. Um, can we also plan other kind of studies like qualitative studies or probably preclinical studies to understand these things, like UPF food and their health effects? So which kind of studies do you think, other than quantitative studies, will be suitable for this kind of research?
See, the thing is that, okay, now there is enough evidence going around which is linking UPF to the health issues. But if you see the weight of evidence and the quality of evidence, it's all coming low grade because they are all prospective cohort studies where you kind of follow people and see this is their food, this is the kind of food they eat, and these are the diseases they developed. Correct? There is so the randomized control trial is the one which will show the cause and effect relationship. So that beautiful study which I showed you, that is something that they also quoted in that parliament hearing, is perhaps one of the very few clinical trials which is there. So if you could do it, obviously you can't do a clinical trial which leads on to a disease because that's unethical to do. But you could definitely, so this kind of a thing could be definitely shown how something like, the weight changes when you are eating a diet which is UPF. But having said that, what you need to now do is more of action research. So you do have a lot of data on seeing the relationship between two. Now, what are you going to do about changing? So that becomes then a qualitative heavy study of how do you carry out this behavior change communication strategy. In what did you change in the food environment, and did that change the way people were eating? So you could pick different food environments. If I change, say, a school food environment, what happens to the way children are eating? If I change a college food environment, what happens to the way the students are eating? And then does that change the quality of their diet? Does this whole thing of making people literate about nutrition change the way they are eating? What in that behavior change ultimately worked in changing their pattern? Because trying to change what people eat, and that's why you have questions like ye to hum hamesha se kha rahe hain. So you'll always get those kind of retorts of ये तो हम इतने साल से खाते आ रहे हैं, हमारे पुश्ते खाते आ रहे हैं, कुछ नहीं हुआ. And so everyone who's smoking doesn't have to pop dead with cancer, lung cancer, but this is increasing your risk of a disease is the way I go about it. Right? So all your smokers will also say the same thing.
Yes.
See, I'm puffing, nothing happens. This one puffs away, doesn't happen. Nobody's getting cancer here, there. But there are people dying of cancer. Yes, it took them like decades to show that link that smoking causes cancer, and still you have not been able to, stop the sale of cigarettes, right? So
Yes.
so we shouldn't be hoping that one day all these foods will never be available. By putting ban on sale of UPF, you can't have a ban on sale of foods. Well, then it becomes we have tried it with alcohol, you have tried it with things. What happens? It just goes into a different kind of a market, which underhand, some black market mein ho raha hai and all that. That's not what you want to do. You want to change the way people look at it. You want to change the way people choose foods. It takes a longer time, but I think the time is right. Because I think a lot of people are now scared looking at the media reports on how this celebrity just popped off, had a cardiac arrest, died. So these are very, very disturbing things. And you can even see that, that whole rush towards, I want to change my diet, I want to lose weight because of, that whole scare of how people are just dying left, right, and center of just sudden deaths. People didn't even get a chance to go to the hospital and say, okay, give me a bypass or whatever surgery and things. They just die. So that it's scary. And right now, then this is the time when you talk about things which can change the way people are living.
Understood, ma'am. So, as you said, more of action research and implementation research are probably required, since
Yeah,
we already have a lot of evidence regarding the harmful effects of UPF.
right.
So, in line with that, we have few more questions in the chat box. I'll request the participants, they can also unmute and ask directly. We just have 5 more minutes left. So, there is a question regarding the association between UPF and neurodevelopmental disorders, ADHD. So, ma'am, can you
Yeah,
please?
yeah. So a lot of evidence now coming up, as I told you, about food additives specifically, and their link. So this whole thing, so every time this comes up, the industry is like, oh, we are using only the permitted additives, and that each additive has undergone by JEGFA, the Joint Expert Committee of Food Additives of FAO, that they have evaluated each of these for their safety, and so that is why it is permitted. So all those kind of discussions happen. But tell me, which JEGFA document has evaluated the cocktail of chemicals which is present in each of these foods? Do you know that the biscuit that you eat every day has at least 7 to 8 chemicals in it? Do you know that the bread that you eat every day has 7 to 8 chemicals in it? Yes, each chemical independently has been evaluated for its safety. But what happens when you have this cocktail? This cocktail with along with you had bread, then you had biscuit, then you put some jam also, then you had another thing which had more additives in it. And what is it doing inside your body? We don't have the evidence. Okay. And that's how people just get away by saying it doesn't matter. And I showed you those slides of where some studies have looked at how if you remove that whole thing of HFSs from UPF and say, okay, equal nutritional profile, still the UPF is linked to increased incidence of NCD. So then what is it which is causing this trouble? It may be these other things which I listed, among them being the food additives. And the way the thing is being processed, the way the whole food thing has changed. Why are so many people having gut issues? Why is there so much of irritable bowel syndrome now coming up? Don't tell me this just because diagnosis is better now. Because there's no real diagnosis for irritable bowel syndrome. It's just when you can't understand and you say, why is this person getting so much of these, aches and pains and all that, you say irritable bowel syndrome. And then, put FODMAP diet. So a lot is to also do with what are these foods which we are putting in, which are so unnatural in their matrix. Is it that they are doing something to the gut lining? Is it that this is now becoming a leaky gut because of whatever kind of reactions which are happening when this kind of food is getting into our gut?
Yes, ma'am. So the wonderful explanation again. And we also had some questions regarding this food additives and their harmful effects, which you already highlighted. I think somebody, Shawnee, has raised hand. If you want to unmute and ask your doubts, you can.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much for presenting the real scenario of how people are consuming the UP with this type of foods. But ma'am, I have one question. Now we have very busy schedule, and in most of the time we don't have so much time to prepare food at home. And also such kind of foods are which are selling in the market, there are so many lucrative advertisement or promotions. Businessmen have so many policies to increase their sale of such kind of food. So in this scenario, how we nutritionists can promote the healthy eating habit? We are organizing a campaign at our university level or college level, but in a large scale, how we can compete with those businessmen?
Right. So it's not a question of, so competing is a different thing. You don't have to compete. What you need to do, as I mentioned earlier, is you need to, as a nutritionist, come up with these recipes. So it is not possible to say कि time नहीं है कुछ खाने को, then the only thing I can eat is this. So one is, of course, improving availability of this in a ready to, cooked manner. That means these suppliers which are there, when you are saying doing Swiggy or any of these apps which deliver food fast, is it that can I choose something which is healthier? Maybe, if I order a plate of idli, would that be fine? So that choice of what is healthier, something steamed, something which is not deep fried, something which is not likely to have a gravy which has a lot of fat in it. So there are healthier alternatives which are available. I see so many of these restaurants having separate sections on these are our healthier alternatives, and they're all supposed to write how many calories, etc. So encouraging these food suppliers to have these healthier menus which can be ordered, so cooked meals that way. The other alternative is, as I said, that have these recipes ready which are quick to do. So, cooking in bulk and then maybe carrying the same for your meal so that in the morning you're not rushing to cook. So, what is it that you can have which you have already pre-prepared one evening before? And, suggestions on what can be then consumed fast, which is something you just pick up, you munch on the way. Those kind of, suggestions have to go forth, and they have to go from you because you understand the youth. Someone, you can't expect the even my generation people to say ye khana chahiye bachon ko and all that, because you have different tastes, you have different the way you look at food is very different from our generation. So it has to come from the youth that this is something which is acceptable for us, and we would like to promote this because I like it, so he likes it, my group likes it. So this age group is likely to adopt such a recipe much more than, say, another age group. So come up with these things. We are depending on you to, come up with these things which are not so high in calories or fat or salt or sugar.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So I think we have covered almost all the questions that we have.
Ma'am, I have one more question, if you please. Ma'am, in case of packaged food, in some of the time, we can see that there is written that artificial flavor, color, and emulsifier are added, but in sometimes the exact name or formula of those additives are not written. So how can we understand that it is permittable or not?
No. So they will add only permissible ones. Okay. So nobody, unless it's a very poor, some very small company and all, they may just add it, then they won't even write it. But the ones who are writing would have added the permitted ones only. Now, the question, as I told you, is not the thing कि वो permitted है. The problem is that you are having a cocktail of permitted additives. That cocktail is what is probably causing this kind of a problem. Get it? So always you will have this kind of a debate as to okay, no, these are all permitted and hence they are safe. So that is no longer, let me say, that has to be rethought. Okay, are we okay with this? Because world over, I'm telling you, this is not just what is happening in India. World over, there is a call for minimally processed. Why? Because of these linkages which you're seeing. So there is something in that food. Am I going to wait till I have that absolute mechanism written out and published in a very good journal for me to make the changes? Or am I going to look at the trend and say, okay, this is a dangerous trend and I don't want to do this? Right? So these are the choices which you have to make. And the wiser choices, obviously, कि आपको पता है, आपको दिख रहा है, this is going to cause a problem, and there is, the world is talking about it. It's not just a few groups of people who are talking about it. The world is talking about it, right? And they're talking about it and they're saying it's bad for you, and then you go ahead and say I don't care, I'm going to still do it till they have absolute proof. That is not very wise. So that's how probably we go about talking to people, कि कितना रिस्क आप लेना चाहते हो अपनी हेल्थ. How much do you want to really play with your lives?
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am. It was really a very enriching session again. And there are a lot of questions, but the broad themes I think we have covered. And before we end, I'll just request you to share your suggestions or advice for the upcoming nutritionists and students. Many of them have doubts regarding different higher studies opportunities and professional opportunities that we have in our field. So briefly, if you can just highlight, then I mean, that can be the ending note.
Okay. So basically now, things are changing for the nutritionists. So what we are all right now struggling with is this whole thing of the syllabus changing and the fact that the only 2 courses will be recognized for people to register. So the first thing that I want to tell you is please be very fast in completing whatever studies you're doing with a master's or PhD, and get yourself registered. So that registration is open at their website, and you would then need to register as a nutritionist. If you do not have a hospital internship which you have done, then you list yourself as a public health nutritionist. So you need to do all that quickly, because so if they start from next year, it means by 2030 they are going to have their first batch ready of the BSc Nutrition and Dietetics NCAHP curriculum children, who are then going to have an exit exam, and then they will get the license to practice. So obviously, they cannot just negate whatever we have been teaching till now. So you have an opportunity perhaps till 2030 to do this. So that is, I think, the highest priority. And whatever other courses and all, more than courses, I would encourage anyone who wants to work in the clinical area to have a longish kind of internship, because in this new curriculum, if you see, they are talking about a 6-month internship already. So do at least a minimum 6-month internship and get some experience in a hospital for you to continue practicing, because the rules are now going to clamp down. Of course, it's all going to be very, very difficult to do for them, but they have come up with very strict guidelines, and it was there in the papers as well, how they are going to clamp down on any other course which is running on nutrition besides the ones which they have mentioned in the curriculum. So you can also go through that and see currently whatever you have studied, what part of the syllabus that they have put over there you have not covered, and then maybe look at short courses which you could do in those areas, because they might also open that exit exam to others. I am not sure. We are all in the dark right now trying to understand how this commission will go about.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So now I'll invite Aditi for the vote of thanks. And
that was a very nice session, ma'am. And even I have some questions, but due to the lack of time, we'll take it next time. So. Okay. So as we come to the close of today's seminar, it is my honor to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizing team. First and foremost, I would like to express a sincere gratitude to our guest of honor, Dr. Pulkit Mathur, for gracing the occasion with your presence and sharing your valuable thoughts. Your words have truly added depth and significance to the seminar. We heartily thank you, ma'am, for this enriching discussion. This session was filled with insight, clarity, depth, sparking new ideas and perspective that we surely will carry forward. I would also like to thank our participants and attendees for your active engagements, your questions, your enthusiasm, and your presence and interest have added a great energy to this seminar. And we especially want to thank the organizing committee and the entire team working behind the scenes for the dedication, planning, and hard work, which made this and everything run smoothly. We also would like to thank the technical team for seamlessly managing and the audio visuals and online support and all, and the support staff who ensured a comfortable and organized environment throughout. And lastly, the media team and collaborating partners, the Healthy Indian Project and NatFirst, for providing this learning platform. Once again, thank you all for the seminar, and it was a meaningful and wonderful session. Thank you all.